Today's podcast is in keeping with our mission here at Biltmore Soundscape Studio. That mission is the telling of stories, great stories, about great and wonderful people who have touched the hearts and souls of other people, giving their lives greater love, happiness, and perhaps even meaning. Our studio provides that warm and professional environment for telling those stories. But sometimes we reach outside our studio walls. Today, that is just what we have done. Buon Natale is a multi-decade-long tradition for the Maggiore family. Started by Tomaso Maggiore himself more than 45 years ago, Buon Natale is a Christmas extravaganza and a gathering of men who over the years have cultivated a brotherhood. The gathering venue was always Tomaso's, and now Joey Maggiore's restaurant, the Italiano. It's a culinary festival of wonderful Italian, Siciliano dishes and wines, delivered in long and traditional courses. But this Christmas celebration is not just about food and wine. What makes the festive gathering memorable is the camaraderie, the storytelling, the jokes, the anecdotal carrying on that rage through the boisterous laughter, only some of which is suitable for public note. The entrance fee? Well, the entrance fee to join this event is threefold. A reasonable fare, a worthy gift wrapped in blue or pink for some anonymous needy boy or girl, and finally one's memories of time shared and lived with Tomaso, his family, and his many friends, all to share in fondest love and regard for those times past when we lived, loved, and laughed together. And now, let the Buon Natale 2025 celebration begin, starting with this tribute to my dearest friend, Tommy Maggiore. Welcome to Buon Natale 2025 here at the Italiano. This is Joey Maggiore's magnificent restaurant in Scottsdale. It's a pickup from where they used to be. Buon Natale, as you know, used to be at Tomaso's at 32nd and Camelback. Today is what we promised you. It's going to be a tribute to this wonderful man, the great friend, Tomaso Maggiore. One of our first guests, well, he's one of the first guests that I also met at Tomaso's. His name, Tony Hamadi. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Do you remember where we first met, Tony?
Of course. At Tomaso's at 32nd Street and Camelback.
Yeah.
And your offices was right next door.
That's right. Unfortunately, you never had to go to my law office.
Thank God.
Tell us about, what were you doing for Tomaso's?
So I used to manage Tomaso's, helping them to do the concepts, managing Chianti, Tomaso's, Tuscany. But we had a lot of fun, fun time, challenging time, but the food always was great. That's why I sticked with him.
Yeah. And I remember one of your perhaps greatest regrets is that you couldn't do more for and with him.
That is correct. And, it's time for everyone to move on, follow their dreams. And my dream, obviously, to do my own restaurants and my own concepts. He was very supportive of that. And, I've been thankful and grateful for all the experiences.
Tony, tell me what your earliest and most profound feelings and connections with Tomaso were.
There is so many, but I'll tell you some of the memorable moments with Tomaso, especially when his mom, she used to come to the U.S., and Arturo, the uncle, and we used to go in the kitchen, and he does the luncheon and the dinners, and drinking obviously a lot of good wines, and and he's an early riser like me. I wake up like 3-4 o'clock. He goes for a run, and then he comes in, have a little coffee with me, and then he goes home. But the funniest moment, I remember, this is a very funny moment. So he had Tomaso's also at Bell Road and 7th Street. And one time Tomaso's coming to work, and he sees this guy selling tomato, one case for $5. And he bought all the tomatoes, and he brings them to the restaurant, 32nd Street. And he told me, Tony, could you please call Russell, which he was the chef at 7th Street and Bell Road, and let him take some cases, because he bought like 20 cases. I called Russell up. He said, man, I don't want no tomatoes. I just bought 10 cases. I said, listen, the bosses say, come pick up the tomato. Come freaking pick up the tomatoes. So he comes in, and he picks up the 5 cases. He sees the same guy, the homeless guy. He gives him the tomatoes. He say, hey, sell those instead of, begging for money. But then 2 hours later, Tomaso's coming to work. He sees this guy, $5 a case of tomato. He buys them again. He brings him and say, I can't believe this guy is selling a case for $5. I say, man, that's the one I gave to Russell.
Who had the nerve to tell him what happened?
Well, I didn't tell him. I say, I think Russell knows Russell's tomatoes.
Smart move, Tony.
Yes.
You left. When did you leave the restaurant and go into for your own?
1994.
Did you see Tomaso's after that?
Yes. I saw him a few times, and then actually we had dinner together at Tomaso's, and when he was going with his son for the chemotherapy, and I brought my kids there, and he was there at the restaurant. It was a kind of a sad moment going through that tough time. And I always say, in our business, we work so hard, and the minute we try to retire and enjoy our family, something happens.
I know.
And that was really very touchy for me, and very sad. But the nice things, he have a wonderful kid. Joey's doing fantastic. He's like Tomaso's, but in a younger version.
Tony, that's great. Tony, thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being the man you are.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, here we are again, this time with Ron Costello and Claudio Iannatelli. We've got a non-lawyer and a lawyer, both knew our wonderful friend Tomaso. First, Ron, let me thank you. Thank you for all the work you do in organizing and putting together Buon Natale, not just 2025, but the decades of this prior. Again, for all of us, thank you. Tomaso always loved that.
Yeah.
So, and Claudio, you've known Tomaso for back into the 80s, right?
Since 1979, when I was 14 years old. And
tell us about that.
Well, I showed up one afternoon, and a family friend had visited with him earlier. And I just went there and I said, in my broken English, I needed a job. And he basically called over a busboy, said, look at him, come back tomorrow with a vest and a bow tie, and that was it. And then went from there to Tomaso's and at Chianti, and then back at Tomaso's. So did all that.
So whose idea was it for you to go into law?
So that story was after I had been at Tomaso's for a period of time, and Tomaso, was dealing with us. This was, I vividly remember, we were sitting by the bar at Tomaso's 32nd Street when it first opened, and I don't know what I was busting his chops about. And he goes, you need to just be a lawyer because the judge is going to say, shut up, you win. And honest to God, prior to that, the thought had never crossed my mind of being a lawyer. And then he got me thinking, and there you have it.
Oh,
that's a fantastic story. That's a story I never heard before.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Great. How about you? What's your earliest memories of Tomaso?
I go back, like I said, when Tomaso first started his restaurant in 1977 up on Camelback, but you're telling us, Claudia, there was
look, unless my memory
that.
serves me wrong, well, I'll ask Joey, but I think they had a little place in town for sure, still Patricia's Pizza and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, my father we used to visit, so we used to go up. I had to find an Italian restaurant, and I found Tomaso, so I used to go there. But I didn't really know Tomaso then. I was there, and he was always friendly. He was always at the front, and actually, he was doing more cooking then. He was back in the back a lot then.
So I'll tell you about that. Go ahead. Go ahead, finish it.
Well, tell us. Keep it in.
Well, the reality of it is Tomaso initially was never in the kitchen. It was Tino who was in the kitchen.
Ah, the brother.
And so there were waiters that had been there long before I was there, and they never knew Tomaso could cook because he was the front of the house man, the kind of working all the people, blah, blah, blah. And what happened was people came in late one night and whatever, Tino was gone. All the kitchen were gone. Tomaso just threw his jacket away, rolled up his sleeves, went and cooked. And the chefs were the waiters were like, holy shit, this guy can cook. And then they love him. And then they're like, Tomaso, can you cook tonight? And that was it, and even, till the end. I mean, if Tomaso wasn't in the kitchen, somebody showed up late, whatever, he just went back and cooked.
But Tomaso loved to cook. I mean, people like me don't cook. We burn the steak and eat it, so our wife will never let us cook again. But not Tomaso.
No. But anyway, when Tomaso opened the restaurant up on 32nd Street, I was in business at the time, so I started bringing people over there and always would ask the waiters and talk to them and ask them, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? And Gino would come out of the back room and he would make you feel, yes, we can do that. How do you want it done? Blah, 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 this and that. And I felt, I felt so special. And then I find out I'm listening. The guy behind me and the guy behind me, they're doing the same thing at this table. They're doing the same thing at that table. And then you find out that was the way Tomaso was. You were in his living room. Yeah. You were in his kitchen, and he allowed you.
For sure.
If you were at Tomaso's, you were special. But you guys were particularly special. Before you go, and you're not going anywhere, tell me about that time you were a kid in San Diego.
Well, so what it was, it's not like I was in San Diego, but as you know, for a period of time, Tomaso's had many restaurants in San Diego, spent quite a bit of time there. But his very first trip there, he and Patricia, his wife, went to San Diego to check things out for the weekend, whatever. They had been invited by friends. I was 17. They left me for the weekend taking care of Melissa and Joey.
How old were they then?
Joey was like three years old, three and a half, maybe 4 or 5. Joey, by that point, 4 years old. Melissa was, probably closer to 10. And I took him, we went to go see the premiere of E.T., the movie, at the Kachina Theater in Scottsdale.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They left town.
Left me with, with the kids.
But they came back, right?
Well, they came back,
That's a great story.
Yeah.
But it was having those memories of Joey and Melissa and those. I remember those kids. But they weren't in the restaurant a lot until they got a little bit older.
So, at Maggiore's, at some point, so that I don't know when you were there, but there used to be a side room that was a bar, kind of like It was just the bar. And then at some point, that got taken out and converted, and the bar was basically in the back, kind of as you're coming out of the kitchen,
Okay.
I remember, so there was a bartender, their old grouchy old man, that just Bob. And I remember one day Joey coming in from the back. He was at that point like 3.5, not even 4. And Tomaso, like he was, basically taught Joey to come up when Bob was like looking the other way and go and pinch his ass. And like,
crazy stuff.
Well, Joey's going to appreciate that one.
Yeah.
Got it.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
This is great. I'm here with Nick Rago and Nick Peluzio right now. These two Nicks go a long way back with Tomaso. Nick, baby, tell me, what are your earliest memories and associations with Tommy?
Well, I got introduced to the holiday Christmas party, Buon Natale party, about 37 years ago. That's when I first met Tomaso and built a relationship from there and started going into the restaurant and spending our lunchtime there and so on. And we formed a group called the Founders, which Nick is one of the members, the founding members. Tomaso was one of the members as well, but he was more the senior member, if you will. And we would gather there and have lunch on the second Thursday of every month. And he had the little room behind there. And we would have a menu that we could pick from. And one of the things that I remember about Tomaso very fondly is that when he would see us come in, Nick, me, Ron, and the boys, he'd raise his hands up to the ceiling and say, "Oh my God," he said, "all my financial worries are gone. The big spenders are here. The big spenders are here."
All 15 of us. All 15 of us.
That's right. So he would go on that way, and he loved the group. He'd send in an hors d'oeuvre or something, and he'd come in and say hello, because, he was always in the kitchen working. I mean, there's a man that my friend Ron Costello always said that was Tomaso's kitchen. That's where he lived. So he was always there and preparing foods and doing the right thing.
Did you know in the early days, he didn't do so much cooking? In fact, his staff didn't even know he cooked till one time. But now I've always known him as the one who cooks.
Yeah, and he was always looking to try new things, much like his son, Chef Joey, much like his son. Yeah.
So, Nick, is that all true? What's your perspective
It is all
on
true.
that?
And also, Tomaso always took a trip to Italy every year for 3 or 4 weeks, and always would come back with new ideas. And early on, when I met him just kind of social. When you went into Tomaso's restaurant, he was always there. And somewhere around 78 or 79, had gone in there for dinner and just met him. Never really got to know him until we put our group together, the founders, 35 so years ago, and we frequented the place for our monthly meetings. But he was always so warm and so gracious, and as Nick said, we helped him pay his bills. So I can only say when you came into his restaurant, whether you knew him or not, he made you feel welcome. And that's why you always wanted to go back, and the food was exceptional, always.
Nick, tell us about Cass, will you? That was a big part of your lives, Tomaso's, and a big part of Buon Natale.
Yeah, that's very true. It's a big part of Buon Natale, because Buon Natale is a season of giving, and giving to people and giving to families. And when Tomaso originated the family dinner, Buon Natale dinner on Sundays, the men would bring a gift in, and we'd send the gift somewhere, go to a church or go to a hospital and so on. And it started very slowly, but then the gifts started to pile up. And then some of the hospitals and some of the schools said, well, we don't want gifts anymore because you can't handle them and so on. And I was a member of the board of directors for CAS, which is the Central Arizona Shelter Services. And we sleep over 600 men and women every night. And we have a family shelter that has 31 units. And in that family shelter, you'll find 2 or 3 children in each of the units. And we discovered that the children in the shelter were not getting Christmas gifts, only because there was not budget to do it and no one contributed there. So when we brought that to Tomaso, we said, that's the place to do it. That's where we should go. So for the past 25 years, about Nick, right? 25 years, we've been gathering gifts that you see in the back here, and we'll gather anywhere from 225 to 300 gifts, some big, some small. And tomorrow morning, the truck will pick it up, take it right to the shelter, and one of us will be here to do that. And then what happens there is the shelter director said, Mr. Rago, we've had so many gifts from your group that we started 3 or 4 years ago that we give gifts to the children that are here, all the gifts that we need, and then whatever's left, we hold for new families who come in monthly, and we give them welcoming gifts to the little boy, the little girl, and so on, which is touching. And one of the things that touches me the most is when we first started this, we got a letter and stating we had one little girl, 11 years old, who said this is the first time she received a new gift in her whole life. And that's a big deal.
It is a big deal, Nick. Nick, if you needed to say anything to Tomaso right now about what you know about him, your relationship, him, the kind times, the fun times, whatever times you had together, what would you tell him you remember maybe the most?
How I loved him, number one. But I think most importantly, like I said before, he always made you feel so welcome. A gracious hug, whenever we walked in the door. And it's just a memory that'll stay with me forever. He was very kind and he was generous to us very often.
He sure was.
We could go into dinner and he would put out some appetizer for us. Just small things like that. Sometimes we'd come in and he'd say, "Let me make dinner." We would not order. He would just bring it out. It was like being at home and being at a nice, Italian mother's house, and the way they make you feel and the way they make you eat. But he was a very kind and gracious man.
Well, Nick, thank you for those moments. Everything you've said about him tells you he must have had a wonderful mother, his mother, Serena. Did you ever know her, though? Did you ever meet her?
His mother?
Mother Serena.
No, I have never met his mother, no.
I never met her either.
Okay.
No.
Well, I think that's a treat. But that's perhaps a conversation for another time,
Yes.
too. Gentlemen, thanks, and God bless you guys.
Thank you. You have
And
to
thank
ask
you.
some of the older members of the group. We're the young guys.
That's right.
They'll remember his mother. We remember his wife. We know Patricia. We know her, but I never met his mother.
Well, then while I've got you here, let's talk about Patricia. I haven't heard half enough about her.
Well, she keeps a low profile, unlike her
Very.
husband. Tomaso, who's always in the center of the room, she prefers to sit in a quiet spot, and she was a loving parent, a wonderful wife, and he moved back and forth. He was in California, he was here in Arizona, and he bounced around, and she supported him and the family. And look at the beautiful family that the two of them developed with their beautiful daughter and son, and both restaurateurs, just like Dad. Nick, you want to add anything to that?
No, and Melissa has done quite well, and Joey, of course. They did raise beautiful children, very smart, and I'll tell you, I've been in the restaurant business myself for many years, and they bring the best to the community with what they do.
They do. I agree. And let's not understate their celebrated status as internet actors and actresses either.
No.
Boy, they have done some family stuff, and I understand they're going to do some more coming up.
Yeah.
Well, they're very photogenic. There's no
they're
question
gorgeous.
about it.
Yeah, they're gorgeous.
They really are. They really are.
And they're knowledgeable, and they deliver a beautiful
Creative.
product. Yeah,
Very creative.
Yeah, they deliver a beautiful product in there. And like today, Joey's making bruschetta, and a banzette, a bruschetta, and I haven't had that in such a long time. My mother's been gone 9 years. I haven't seen a bruschetta. He's making up beef bruschetta.
Well, you guys are going to see a lot of wonderful food today.
Yeah.
And thank you both.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, here we are with Benito Molino and
Yes.
Tom Rustwick. These are two names that lived at Tomaso's, lived in the heart and mind of Tomaso's for decades, more for you.
Decades. Tomas and I, almost 50 years just before he died, because, I came here in 1974, and Tomaso came in 1977, and we have been friends since then, traveling, having great time, exchange business. We did a lot of things together.
Now you were with you had Avanti's in '74.
We opened in 74 the first Avanti on Thomas Road.
So when he opened Tomaso's or Maggiore's,
Yes.
in '77,
77. Yes.
what did you think? Did you know him by then?
I met Tomaso's in my other Avanti in Scottsdale in 1975. Tomaso came visiting from New Jersey with a guy by name Tony Nicolai. Tony Nicolai, it was a big deal in town here. And he told me, he says, I'm going to bring this guy from New Jersey. He's going to beat you, give you competition. I said, Tony, yes, I love it. I said, there's no competition here. Anyway, so he came to Avanti in Scottsdale, and I see this handsome Sicilian young man, Tomaso's, you know. And he was looking around, and he came with Tony Nicolai's wife, you know. I look around, and Tony says, oh, this is Tomaso, my friend from New Jersey. And we start to talk, and he started to ask me how his business. I said, perfect. Then he left, and a couple years later, he come back, and he opened the first Tomaso's on 32nd Street. Before that, he was on the west side. Then he opened on 32nd Street and Camelback. And Tomaso and I, we've been friends since then. Never competition, nothing. He had his own client, I had my own, and they were going in both restaurants. And on top of it, many times during New Year, we used to call and wish each other Happy New Year. And I was saying, how many did you do tonight? I did 360. How many did you do? I did a 390. How much did you gross? I gross this. You know, we always were joking.
So there's a lot
and
of
joking.
bullshit flying around.
Yeah, but you know what's the funny thing? We were always so close. I mean, Tomas and I, we've been close for many, many, many years.
There was a time I spent 4 to 5 meals a week at Tomaso's from the late
I
night.
remember, yes, yeah.
And virtually every time I went in, I thought I saw you.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, Tomas and I, we become really good friends. And we traveled everywhere with Tom, my friend next door, and a couple of times Agostino, another Neapolitan guy that, was a very good friend with Tomaso's. Yeah, we have a lot of history with Tomaso, a lot of it.
Tom, besides being a drinking buddy and pushing a lot of wine onto him.
I was definitely a drinking buddy.
Tell us about that.
I got to know Tomaso, but not that well when he had Maggiore's. But when he got to 32nd Street and Camelback, that's where I really started to try to call on him, selling him wine. And it led to a lot of fun dinners that we did, wine dinners, and even to the point where I went to Sicily with him so many times I could drive from the airport in Palermo to his house in Bagheria. But he talked me into importing his wine that he was doing in Sicily. So we had so much fun with Lusso and Luxus. And I remember one time we had a huge stack in Costco in Scottsdale. And Tomaso and I made meatballs and some pasta and stuff. And we took that over. The whole wine department smelled like Tomaso's kitchen. But it was amazing. We had fun with that wine. So he was a great inspiration to me and a really, really good friend.
So tell me, how many trips to Sicily in Italy did you do with him?
Oh, gee.
Whoa.
Well over 20. Yeah, sometimes we would even just meet over there too, and I got into a lot of the other wineries that we represented in other parts of Italy, so that was always fun to travel to some of the other ones.
Oh my God! And even when I remember the place that he had his winery was called what was it? The village. No. It was Sambuca.
Sambuca di Sicilia.
Sambuca di Sicilia. So after a while, of course, Tomaso's always was trying to push Tom to get more and more container, because he was really an incredible man. Tried to help his friend in Sicily, Giovanni Maggio, which at the end, he turned on him. It was terrible at the end. But anyway, let's not talk about that. I remember that every time we were going there, to him, he was always competing who was grilling the best sausages. Giovanni's partner was saying, the best sausages are made here in Sambuca. Tomaso said, I'm going to bring you the best sausages. Anyway, and then after a while, Tom Rostwick, he became
Cittadino onorario.
Yeah, Cittadino. They gave him the key of the town. Oh yes, big celebration with the mayors and everything. So we went through so much with Tomaso's and traveling. Oh my God, I remember.
And that night we had the sausage cook-off. Remember? We had two different types, one from Tomaso's hometown and one from there. And we got to try them side by side. It was
so we go to his.
Who won? Who won that contest?
I think he did.
Yeah.
His sausages that were much better, and that of course the same recipe was doing all these sausages here, the nest of the sausages around, which were delicious. But I remember another day we go to Sicily to his niece wedding. So we arrived at 2:00 in the morning. We were tired, after. But I have to tell you this story. So we leave from my hometown in Naples on the Amalfi Coast to catch a plane from Naples to Palermo, Sicily. We get to the airport, no flight. They said there was no flight. So the suitcase they were already in, but they took the suitcase out. They said, if you want next flight, it's going to be from Rome. So a bus take all of us in Rome. It was pouring. It was terrible. So we arrived there finally about 11 o'clock at night at the airport. It started this big fight. And those Sicilians, they were saying, discrimination because you are from north of Italy, the planes are leaving for south of Italy. So finally they had to call the police, come around, so everything okay. We arrive, finally the plane takes off. We arrive in Sicily, we arrive in Palermo, and everybody's cramped, in this bus to go in inside. And there was a lady with her arm like this up, And Tomaso was just with the nose under the armpit. And he says, Madame, what kind of aftershave or what kind of perfume you're using? He said 7 anni, which means the seventh wharf in Italian. And he says, I think one is dead. oh my God. We were laughing. You remember that, Tom?
Yeah.
Oh my God. And that's a true story. Tomasi wouldn't say anything. then we had a couple of the guys in Sicily, which we used to go out, they never ever ask for bill. Whenever we were asking for the bill, they were going in the bathroom. And Tommaso used to say, questo qui è un braccio corto. I mean, short arms that he doesn't reach in the pocket. Oh my God, we had a great time.
So this was Tomaso. To continue this story, when we got to the wedding, it was a big wedding, and Tomaso came up to me and said, I told them they gave me a really good deal on the food today at the wedding because I told them that you're from New York and you're a food writer. So you need to have a pencil and a notebook in front of you when you sit down to eat. So, me, being the stupid one, I did just that. And the maitre d' stood right over my shoulder to watch what I was doing.
And he was saying, Thomas was saying, how come they serve you so fast and we had to wait? I said, yeah, because you told him it's a food critics.
Guys, it's been a lot of years as you spent combined. You've known for almost 50. Tom, you've got to have known for what, 25?
Oh, yeah.
40 years. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
such a long time. Yeah. It's a bear to be without someone that loving. But the truth is you guys made him. I mean, he grew up with you. He was what he was too, but you brought out so many good things in him.
You know something? I miss him every day. I miss his live. He was always the life of the party. He was always joke, always, even when he was in a pissy mood, he was in a bad mood, he was always, I miss him every day. Tomaso, I wish you, my friend, happy holidays. And you know something too? I hope when I come up there next to you, let's not do restaurants anymore. Let's do something different. I love you, my friend.
Guys, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken. This was fun.
Thank you so much.
So here we are with Austin Potenza.
Good to see you,
God,
Ken.
it's good to see you, Austin.
It's been a while. It's good to see you.
It's been, we go back, 25 years?
Actually, a little longer than that, yeah. But 25 years is is a good starting point.
Do you remember that starting point, where we were when we did this?
Absolutely. We were in Sicily together with Tomaso.
Wow. What do you remember about that trip?
Oh my gosh, there's so much to remember about that trip. First of all, most importantly, that was when we came back from that trip, and there's more to this story. When we came back from our trip to Sicily, that's when we found out my wife was pregnant. We were having our baby.
We remember that.
And till the day he passed away, Tomaso also remembered that, and he seemed to take a little credit for all of that.
I'm sure he did.
He enjoyed telling me all the time, that it was Sicily that did it.
Oh,
But anyway,
yeah.
so
I remember the trip well. I remember how wonderful that we convoyed to places together.
Well, remember the day. So this is how Tomaso operated. This was so quintessential Tomaso. We're all sitting in this hotel in Bagheria, and Tomaso roused us all up, says, "We're going for a ride, come on." And it wasn't planned. It wasn't the day before. Gets us up that day and says, "Come on, we're going for a ride." So we all pile into the cars. We drive through Palermo traffic, which was an experience like no other. And the next thing you know, we pull up to the governor's mansion.
Right. By the way, was that the day he lost his left side view mirror?
I think so, in traffic.
Right, in traffic. He was wedging, but he thought he was going to be the Alpha car, but the truck next to him wasn't going to let that happen.
They don't care. Life's cheap in Palermo if you're driving a car. So we get there, and it's the governor's mansion. And if you recall, the governor's mansion is also the setting for one of the scenes in The Godfather Part 2. So we're all like, oh my gosh. And we walk inside, and there's the governor. And the governor or the mayor, Rolando Orlando, I remember his name. And he's giving us a VIP tour of the governor's mansion. And he's telling us, I don't know if you remember this, but he's telling us all about how he got rid of crime in the mafia in Sicily.
I do remember that story.
And there's a guy in every single doorway holding a submachine gun. I remember Tomaso comes up to me about halfway through the tour and he says, "If there's no more crime in Sicily, what's with all the machine guns?" We had such a good time with him. He was great. I mean, that whole trip was one adventure after another.
And that was a trip. We also drive to Enna.
Yeah,
on that trip.
Yes, where my grandfather is from.
That's right.
And Tomaso again just breezes into town. I don't know how he met this guy, but he meets some guy in the town square. The next thing you know, we're all going to this guy's restaurant. And we spent the entire afternoon having a wonderful meal with somebody that Tomaso had just met.
That seemed to have been his mode of operation. Always go to the center of town, look for the oldest guys, and tell them who you are, and they'll tell you the rest of the story.
That's right. And Tomaso was everybody's instant friend. I mean, you couldn't resist Tomaso.
Over the years, it started with that, but over the years, how often did you see Tomaso? What was your relationship with him during all those years?
All the time. We were dear friends. He was a friend of my family. Excuse me. Every one of our important family events, we celebrated at Tomaso's. From Krista's baby shower, before she was even born, all the way through when she graduated from high school. Everything that we did. Birthdays. And then, I would go there all the time. And at my law firm, it was famous that if you got to go to Tomaso's with Austin Potenza, it means you were getting a job. And that's where I would do my interviews.
Yeah.
And Tomaso, there was never not enough room at the table when you went to Tomaso's restaurant. No matter, you walked in there was a seat at his table. And it was a feast.
I've asked myself, particularly since listening to all y'all talk about Tommy, is there a man who could make so much room in his heart for so many people? To make the kind of room he had, he must have had a heart 4, 5, 10 times the size of normal.
It's truly amazing. It was Tomaso's world, and the minute you were with him, you were in his world, and his world was a really, really wonderful place, filled with friendship, food, wine, love, and really, really great humor. The guy was just amazing.
One of God's blessings is to be in his room.
It was. It was. It's a memory we'll carry for the rest of our lives, and my daughter will too.
Yeah. Austin, it's good to see you.
Good to see you again too. I remember
Really
walking in there and seeing you all the time. God bless.
Well, here we are at the Biltmore Soundscape Studios, Hank and Ron. As you know, we tried this earlier at the Italiano.
That we did.
And you were one of the last ones we were going to interview, Hank. And the truth is, it didn't work. But we all agree that no tribute to Tomaso Maggiore could ever work without you being a huge part of it. And the fact that you're here with Ron is going to be a real bonus. So welcome to our studios for what will probably be the last of this podcast tribute to Tommy Maggiore. Hank, tell me your earliest memories of meeting Tomaso. Where, when, what went on?
That's a tough one. I think it really wasn't at 32nd Street. It goes back, he had a restaurant, and I think it was called Tomaso also, just east of Scottsdale Road on Camelback. It's a Mexican restaurant today. And my mother was in town, and I think that's the first time I met Tomaso. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I recollect.
And that was when, in the early, mid-70s?
No, it'd be about 78, 79 in there. And then the relationship just moved forward from there.
Yeah. It was pretty easy to get to know him, wasn't it?
No, Tommy was a really welcoming person. And see, I had a professional relationship with him and a personal relationship with him. And he became very insignificant to my family, which is basically back east. Well, they all knew Tomaso, all spend many meals there. So Tomaso actually became part of my life, professionally and personally. So it was quite a relationship. Tommy's mom, she generated a situation for me back in Sicily. They had converted a garage into a kitchen, and they would have meals there. Oh, they could seat 8 to 16 people in there, and they had a stove that Tomaso was cooking up one of his special meals. And I remember his mom coming over. I didn't quite understand what she was saying, but she was yelling at him in English, in Italian. So when she got done scolding Tommy, I asked Tommy, I says, what did your mother say? She says, I don't know how to do this thing right. And, Tomaso's probably one of the best chefs in the world, but his mother still was the boss.
He stole a lot of her recipes, too, didn't he?
That's my understanding.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever have a sausage that he talked about?
I'm sorry?
The sausage.
Oh, the sausage. I was probably, Ron will vouch for this. I was probably Tommy's best customer for sausage. There was one time I came in, it was about 1:30 at Tomaso on 32nd Street there. He had the bar that goes in, and Tommy knew I liked the sausage sandwich, cut on a nice baguette. Well, I told Tommy, make it a little bigger this time. So he came out with one that had to make the Subway sandwich look small, had to be about 18 inches cut, and it must have had a pound or two of sausage in there. But Tomaso sausage was some of the best.
It was. That wasn't the only thing he took from his mother, was it? He took other recipes and other memories.
Yeah, my understanding, he took a lot of her ideas and built on them. And then each trip he made back to Italy, which he did probably, 3-4 per year, he would come back with another combination of ingredients to come up with a little different flavor. He was a truly a chef, and he loved the restaurant. As we're talking about this, Tommy and Paul Fleming were having lunch one day over at 32nd Street, and I happened to be driving by, and I saw Tomaso's car. This is like about 1:30. I go in, and they had just finished, and Tommy introduced me to Paul Fleming, a real nice gentleman. He leaves. Tommy and I sit down. Tommy looks at me. He says, "Hank, I don't understand it." I says, "Tommy, what don't you understand?" He says, "That guy can't boil water, but he's worth millions." And I says, "Tommy, he's a businessman. He's not a chef." And Tommy, I think food was just part of his being. You know, he enjoyed it. He loved it. We had another discussion when we were talking about what makes for, a beautiful restaurant. And I start asking Tommy, I says, what makes for beautiful? Is it the decor? Is it the paintings? Tommy was big on paintings in his restaurants. And we talked, and I told him it was the tablecloths, and was it this, was it that? And Tommy says, "You're making it way too complex, Hank." I said, "What do you mean by that?" He says, "What makes for a beautiful restaurant is people." I says, "What do you mean by people?" He says, "If the place is full of people, it's beautiful. If the place is empty, it's empty. It's
He was
ugly."
right about that.
So,
But he also used to
go
take
ahead.
that a step further, too. If you remember, he used to talk about, he actually got professional in that conversation. He used to say it was not only the food, it had to be good, service had to be good, but when the people walked out the door, it was the experience that they remembered that brought them back into your restaurant. So he truly made that simple, but he understood that people had to enjoy their experience while they were there.
He was such a big part of my life, and I didn't realize all this, Ken, until after it happened. And I think it's true of all of us. I mean, if you would take any one of the people that know Tomaso, you asked them, you're going to find out they were just, he was in their life. The trips to Sicily, my God. I remember the story he tells about Carol. Jumps on the motorcycle. Oh, I tell you. Memories of Tomaso, and food, swinging all the way back to the personal side. I was fortunate to have Tommy come to the house several times for dinner.
I remember.
And I'll never forget the first time. Ron was going to be there, Tomaso, and then this Jeannie and I. I says, "What are we going to cook for him?" Jeannie says, "We're going to make ossobuco." I says, "Oh, my God. That's his
Signature dish.
signature dinner. That's the word." So we got out all the books, how to make this thing. And they were supposed to show like 2. Well, Jeannie and I, we got all the books out. We got everything so goofed up that there was no way they were going to be able to eat anything. So for some reason, Tommy comes about an hour early, and when Tommy brings wine, he doesn't show up with a bottle. He has a shopping bag, from Albertsons or someplace. He throws 6-7 bottles of wine in there. He comes in, and I look at Jeannie. I says, "We got to confess." So I told Tommy that for some reason we wanted to make ossobuco for you, your signature dish, and we're having a little difficulty. So Tommy goes to the oven, opens it up, grabs a bottle of wine out of the bag, pours it over the ossobuco, does a few other things, makes some adjustments, and says, ossobuco's got to cook for hours and hours. But we had it in there enough hours, but he was able to save it. Ron showed up about 30 minutes later. We finished a couple bottles of wine, and the ossobuco's out, and it actually was, it wasn't the best, but you could eat it. So. But anyways, those are the memories that I have. I got a little bit off track there.
No, you can't get off track with Tomaso. Let me show you. How about this memory of Tomaso in that picture?
Yeah, that's his signature.
Show us. What's he saying there?
I don't. What would be the exact words he would use?
Here, how about this? Don't you worry.
Don't you
Oh,
worry.
don't you worry.
Don't you worry.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, I heard that a million times.
Don't you worry.
I'm surprised that slipped me. Yeah, he never worried about anything.
God bless him. And Hank, God bless you, guy. You were a great friend to Tomaso. And thanks for being on this podcast. I think Joey, Melissa, the whole gang will just love hearing all about this. Ron, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Well, my friends, that wraps Biltmore Soundscape Studio's tribute to Tomaso Maggiore. Our Buon Natale tribute, held at Chef Joey's signature restaurant in Scottsdale, the Italiano, is only a small but heartfelt tribute to that amazing man, father, husband, grandfather, and restaurateur. Since his passing, Tomaso's tradition of Buon Natale has been kept alive by his son Joey. Together with Joey's sister, Melissa, the two have kept their father's culinary traditions alive and thriving, as both maintain wonderful and traditional restaurant themes throughout our valley and beyond. No one knows what next year will bring. Tomorrow is promised to no one. But as we move towards that tomorrow, the memories of men like Tommy Maggiore and the new ones we make with his successors, Joey and Melissa, will help us look forward to wonderful new tomorrows. Yes, it's only food, ambiance, and service, but it is a wonderful start. So on behalf of Biltmore Soundscape Studio and from one of its many studios, I am Ken Seidberg saying thank you, Italiano Restaurant. Thank you, Tomaso. Thank you, Joey. You will always be in our hearts and minds as long as we live, love, and laugh.